Welcome on in, Browns fans. It's another edition of our Brownie Breakdowns, which, of course, we try to provide you each and every single week, breaking down the tape on the previous Browns game action. And this was a thrilling one this week. I don't know what it is about me covering the games, Anthony, but the two games I've been to this year, it was like terrible games for long stretches. Ravens game back in week 11. Looked like it was going to be a blowout, and then the Browns find a way to come back and win. And then the same thing basically happens against the Bears. Two and a half quarters or so of just miserable football, and they somehow pull a rabbit out of a hat, come down with a victory, almost fumble it again at the very end on the Hail Mary, which I know is a play we'll certainly highlight during this edition. Mm-hmm. But what another thrilling win for this Browns team. And I think, Myles Garrett had the line after the game that, Dr. Seuss couldn't even write a book about this season. I think that's kind of well said. This season has just been completely off the rails in terms of unpredictable wins and the resiliency of this group. If you had rattled off a list of players that the Browns had injured going into week 16, there's no way anybody would have said, "Oh, they're 9-5 on the season." So it certainly is a different Browns team than I think fans are used to seeing over the last 2 decades or so.
Is this you telling us you're heading to Houston this week? Is that what you're saying?
I wish that was the case, but no, I'm not heading to Houston this week. But we'll obviously have you covered, as always, over at BrownsDigest.com. Yeah. And Anthony and I will definitely do our best to bring you another one of these next week, breaking down that tape as well. But yes. I don't want to waste people's time too much kind of with the minutia here of everything. We'll get right into it and start sort of dissecting this tape, and I'm sure there'll be some questions and some things that come up along the way, because it was an ugly first couple quarters for Joe Flacco, and then he's able to get it together at the end and just play brilliantly in that fourth quarter. And I think also the other overarching thing here, well, on top of David Njoku, which we'll talk about, but the other overarching thing here is that the defense, aside from the 3 points in the second half, they basically pitched a shutout. If you take away the fact, if you remember the fact that the Bears' 2 scores came off of turnovers.
Unbelievable performance by the defense. And we'll see this as we jump into it, that the offense struggled early on a lot of it. This game was a lot of the defense keeping us in it, how it's been all year and exactly how it's going to continue to be, right? There's a bunch of stuff you can clean up on offense. We keep saying that week after week. Maybe turnovers give us wins. I don't know. That may be the case, but this is a tape that's really interesting, fun to watch. We could have watched the entire thing. It was hard to trim it down because there's so much good and so much bad stuff. But at the end of the day, when you talk about the bad stuff, the bad parts of Joe Flacco's game on Sunday, it didn't matter. All that got flushed away with a darn near perfect fourth quarter and a huge miraculous comeback win. The Browns needed it. They frankly needed it. So it was a fun game to watch. I'm going to get it all set up here, but it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I mentioned that Ravens game earlier in the season too, sort of reminiscent of that, because you had a Browns quarterback who was struggling for a while, and then late in the game, nearly perfect in that fourth quarter, en route to a win. So I'll hand it over to you, Anthony, as we kind of get the actual play-by-play studying started here. Yeah. So where are we starting at this point in the game?
Well, we're going to start very first play of the game. I think it's kind of important to watch, and one of the big themes that at least we picked up on, and I'm sure everyone at home picked up on, is that we frankly could not block these guys, and that's why that was the most nerve-wracking part of Sunday's game, was that we truly couldn't block them up front. And there was many times throughout the game where you were like, hey, this game's over. Like, the Browns don't have a chance because they can't do anything. They can't run it. They can't throw it. So we're going to go chronologically through this one. We have in every game. I think it's the best way to do it. We do have some live viewers tonight. So if you guys drop any questions in the chat, we'll be following along, answer them along the way. But without further ado, let's get it going. And when you see this play, to kind of just start it off, just want to get things going. You get 6 yards really on first down. You're like, okay, if this Browns team can find a way to run the football, they're going to be okay. But, after that first initial run, don't really get anything on second down. And then I love this on third down, right? This is the first real drop back throw of the game. And they use a little bit of motion. if you've been watching us all year long, you know I'm a fan of using motion. Use motion as much as you possibly can, especially when this guy, number 2, Amari Cooper, is your primary target. And he was spectacular. Just totally had a great game. What was he? Four catches over 100 yards and that big touchdown that we'll get to later. But Browns use a little bit of motion to tell the story. Okay, so you see Amari when he comes in motion across the formation here. He's looking, right? His eyes are on the defense. He's seeing if he's getting trailed, if he's getting some kind of a zone or a man look, or is he's noticing nobody runs with him. So he knows that these 2 guys are going to be responsible for him and David Njoku. And what you can see here is obviously he breaks it off really nice. Has got a nice completion. Well, Joe Flacco's a little delayed on it, and they actually commented on the broadcast. They're like, it was kind of a weird kind of release for him. It looked like this potentially could have been one of those routes where Amari could have had a couple ways. He could have went out, could have went in, probably could have hooked it up. Like, so you could just see Joe was trying to make sure he was on the same page, delivered a shot right on Amari's helmet to convert the first down. This was an awesome start. This was one where you're like, hey, Browns look good on third down. Got a chance to start moving the rock here early on in this first drive. So they convert on they can convert on that third down. And then one of the themes of this first quarter, we're going to see this twice now. They get into this advantageous field position. Anytime you get to about the opponent's or your own 45, you got to be thinking points no matter what. So you see it here. They're close to the 50. You're going to have we got a third and medium. Again, you don't like being in those third down situations, but actually this isn't even third down. This is first down. This is a tough one. This is one I put in because I remember watching this live, Spence, and I was like, holy cow, this is going to be a bad day. Our best blocking guy, we use a tight end. Njoku never gets pushed back like this. Never gets pushed back like this. Kind of got manhandled on this particular play here.
Is that Sweat too?
95. So it wasn't Sweat on this one. But anyway,
he usually, I just know he usually lines up off the left side, so I didn't know. And we saw him on that side a lot during this game, causing some problems for James Hudson. But yeah, this was the start of realizing there was going to be some issues, I think, up front today for this team.
Yeah, this wasn't good. This picture right here is rare to see. We never ever see this one, but Njoku getting pushed back and leads to a huge loss on second down. So that then sets up, a third down here and a third and long. And like, hey, you're in second and medium. You get pushed back on third, and now you're out of position. So we're not in a good spot here, but you got to find a way to convert. And one thing you'll see early in this first quarter is, as well as the Bears defensive line played, I think their secondary played equally well. You're going to see a couple clips where they're just plastered all over the Browns receivers and just not allowing anything to be open down the field. And this is a great example of it. They're going to go to Chief, who starts at the bottom of our screen, right? Normally trying to use this kind of as like a pick, where you're going to get this kind of a route here and then use Njoku to kind of rub off of it. You're getting man coverage. Try to get something, get David running. Well, it doesn't help that Elijah gets pushed off the line, and then the timing gets all messed up. So float one out, but even kind of more importantly, you look in the backfield, and they bring some pressure, but this isn't a great clean look. This is just kind of a cloudy deal here. And look, you're covered up top, you're covered up here, you're covered up here, you're covered up here. So a great rep won by the Bears defense on this one.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk coming into the game. Bears 5-8 on the season. Maybe it'll be overlooked a little bit by, I don't know, fans maybe in particular. But I mean, there was so much talk about how this Bears defense was probably the best defense the Browns are going to face all year. It's one of those deals where they got to a slow start, but especially after the Montez Sweat trade and all these different things, like they're a good group, man. Like they did some really good things on Sunday. Brisker's a really good safety for them. Obviously Sweat has been wreaking havoc this entire season, and they have a few other guys that obviously stand out to you as well. On just that Jalen Johnson's a really good corner that I don't necessarily think gets a lot of shine. And you see that on plays like this where they're a man coverage and they're disrupting things. So yeah, I don't know that enough can be said about how good that defense really is.
And it really showed up too. Like, we'll get to Tremaine Edmonds as well here in a little bit, but Jalen Johnson, I mean, according to Pro Football Focus, some people love it, some people don't. There's not many people in the middle, but they have him ranked as the #1 cover corner in all the NFL. And even Stevenson showed up. He made a big pick, and he hasn't been playing good all year. So this defense, I was really impressed with as you continue to watch the tape. But more importantly, the Browns, the last 3 games with Joe Flacco, or excuse me, last 2 games with Joe Flacco, gone right down the field and scored, right? First drive. Think Rams, big touchdown to Jerome Ford. Think excuse me. Who did we play last week? It's slipping my mind.
Jaguars.
Jags, right down the field. Chief, big long touchdown to start. This is huge for the Bears to get off the field, force this punt on the Browns' first possession, and they start feeling it. Now we go to the defense. These guys I thought were spectacular. And one of the themes early on, I believe, for the Bears was to test number 0, Greg Newsome. And you'll see him at the bottom of our screen. And you and I talked about this during our post-game show. Like, it felt like early on they were trying to go after Newsome after the last couple of weeks that he had. You know, you think back to Denver, think back to Los Angeles, where he kind of struggled a little bit. But now he's starting to play some really good football. And the very first snap of the game, watch Zadarius Smith. Okay, so heard a stat today. Him and Myles Garrett combined for 18 pressures. It's like a statistical anomaly that they didn't get a sack. But Zadarius Smith at the bottom of your screen, causing pressure, and Justin Fields throwing one up to DJ Moore, and Greg Newsome's all over it. Does a really nice job on the back end and getting some pressure on the front end. At this point, you're like, this defense came ready to play. Then on second down, one of the things that's been getting the Browns a little bit has been some kind of play action, this bootleg stuff where they're susceptible to big plays. Because when you're playing that man coverage, you got to kind of have your eyes in 2 different places. If it is a run, you got to protect against your run gap. Then you also got to cover somebody up. So the Bears are going to come with a stretch play, and what I want you to watch is DeAnthony Bell, filling in for Grant Delpit. He comes out, has a great grade in this game, and really he's going to be all over this tape here tonight. But this is one where a coach is watching after they hand it off. What does the defense do to respond? And I just love where everybody on this defense is at. This shows that these boys are ready to play. They hand it off to the top, and you stop the run, right? They gobble the run up, okay? And then DeAnthony Bell is on the bottom on Justin Fields. Boom, we're all covered up. If Justin Fields pulls that ball and is on a bootleg, DeAnthony Bell's right on him. If he hands it off, the rest of the team is rallying to the football and making a really nice stop there on second down.
Yeah, and I mean, I just wanted to say real quick, I felt like both Bell and Ronnie Hickman filling in for Juan Thornhill and Grant Delpit. You almost forgot that those guys weren't out there. I mean, Bell was making some like Grant Delpit-esque plays, running up and making tackles in the run game. Coverage-wise, there wasn't a lot of huge issues there either. It's become sort of annoying and beating a dead horse and broken record like to talk about that. This team just really lives by that next man up mentality. But for whatever reason, it's true. Like the next guy steps in, and it's like they don't miss a beat. And I thought in a game like this, where it was close, you needed some guys to step up. You were kind of constantly walking on eggshells, trying to wait and see who was going to strike and who was going to kind of seize the moment. The defense they didn't let up, even though they had some areas that they were sort of filling in with guys as well.
Absolutely, and to even add to that, Spencer, we'll see that Denzel Ward was not even close to 100%. I don't even know. I couldn't put a percentage number on it. He was out there specifically to cover. And you can even see here, there was a lot of run for Greg Newsome and MJ Emerson, which we're now used to seeing these past couple of weeks. But this secondary was so banged up, and there's not going to be, after we watch this, you're going to see DeAnthony Bell, and you're going to be like, holy cow, this guy played his tail off. And then Ronnie Hickman, too, had one miscue, and it didn't hurt the Browns. And other than that, he was pretty much nails all afternoon.
I'm assuming you're talking about the Komet.
Tunyon. Yeah. The Tunyon one where Tunyon dropped it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was Tunyon, not Komet. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So the Browns forced a 3-and-out, 8 3-and-outs on Sunday, which as the game finished out, with the Browns kicking that field goal, with just very little time left, that was critical. When we dug ourselves in that big of a hole, forcing 3 and outs was so big just to continue to get the ball back to the offense who was trying to find their way. So kick it back to the Browns. Browns are up on offense. This is where you need to go score, right? 1st and 10, ball in the 45. We got to be thinking points. You don't necessarily need a touchdown. We kind of felt like it was going to be a sloppy game, but you need points. And this is a good way to start it. Use motion to kind of move the defense a little bit, and you're going to get a nice chunk run here by Jerome Ford. This is just your old school Browns. Give me 9 yards on 1st down. Now we're rolling. Then we come back with the shot play here. Okay. And this is one I want to watch because it stuck out in my brain that, hey, the Bears secondary was all over it on Sunday, right? How many times have we gotten play action where, we have a good hard run fake and someone's cut loose or someone's coming wide open? There is literally nowhere to throw this football. You got Tillman covered up. You got Elijah Moore in the middle. He's got 2 guys on him. You got Amari Cooper here. And then you got, Kareem Hunt in the flat. Everybody's covered up. So Flacco lets one fly. This is a vintage Flacco. Throw it up where it's either incomplete or it's a pass interference. But this time falls harmlessly to the turf. But there you go. You're okay with that shot. You're okay with that shot there. But again, it's like you're going to see we're going to skip through a lot of this first half because the offense really just couldn't get anything going. So this was disappointing. Okay, so we don't end up getting the 1st down here, and you're going to end up having a punt. So this is becoming one of those old school those field position battles that we've seen a number of times here in this season. So they punted away. Now this plays a big one. First play of their second drive. This was one that on Monday, Kevin Stefanski, really for the first time that at least since he's been here, has done this for a player where he's really, and he even said it. I'm going to stand on my soapbox and go for give a talk to Myles Garrett, and he said cut on play number 4 of the film and just watch what happens to Myles Garrett. Watch how they block him and watch the play he makes. So here's 95 down at the bottom of our screen, and watch him just get chipped by the tight end, chipped by the right tackle, chipped by the fullback, spins out of it, somehow stays on his feet, and makes the tackle for a 2-yard gain. Just like you see this constantly, like he's getting 6 hands on him every single play and still finding ways to make his impact.
Later in the game, he gets blocked by 3 guys at once, basically. And again, this is another thing that sounds like a broken record on this show that we do. But his impact goes beyond the stat sheet, and that was basically Kevin Stefanski's point on Monday. Was if you're only sitting there adding up, sack totals and who has the most sacks on the season to decide Defensive Player of the Year, then that's a little disingenuous to the award because Myles just draws so much attention that it's impossible to not realize the impact he's having. And the Browns finish with, Myles doesn't have a sack, but they finish with 3 sacks as a team because of the stuff that he's doing to create other opportunities for other people. And he talks about that too. He says if Shelby Harris is getting a sack, if Z's getting a sack, I'm okay with that. Fine. I can't possibly, but I can't sit here and be one of these banging the drum. Where's Myles Garrett, or why doesn't he have a sack today? Like you got to think deeper and bigger picture than just, well, did he get a sack or did he not get a sack? Because the guy messes up game plans week in and week out. He's
impossible to block. He truly is. And it's amazing the attention that he garners every single week and pretty much every single snap. You literally can't block him one-on-one or else he'll wreck your game. Another game wrecker on the Browns defense is this dude, number 6, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. This guy is playing with his hair on fire. I mean, he is playing at a level that is, he's not only a Pro Bowler, like if he would be, because we watch him every week and obviously we're fans, he's in my conversation for All Pro. His numbers aren't quite there, but this dude makes so many plays. And here's another good one. It's a great back view of it. And you got to remember, right? Justin Fields, running quarterback, they got to account for both. And the Browns have done a really great job of doing that when they get those dual threat guys this year, of being able to kind of get both the run and the pass. But watching number 6 fly around, is unbelievable. And you're now starting to see too, like in the national narrative, like some of these talking heads that are on ESPN and on these big shows are starting to see this dude, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, can flat out play football, and he changes games. He's awesome. He's been so good for the Browns on that
It's
second
too
level.
bad Mark Sanchez can't get his name right on the broadcast.
Mark Sanchez, man.
Guy should be an
Another tough
all-pro.
one.
Guy should be an all-pro, but Mark Sanchez has his game like 4 weeks in a row, and he can't say his name still.
He can't say his name. Can't get it right.
I mean, I get it's a hard name, and listen, I mess up plenty of names, so I'm not going to sit there and judge him for that. But by the 4th time you've called a Browns game, you should probably have it figured out by now.
And it's like the 4th time in the past 5 weeks. It's not like he hasn't seen us in a month. That guy,
my
man.
goodness. But I do, I want to get on my soapbox for JOK. In a game like this, where, like you said, running quarterback, you don't have Grant Delpit, who often would be one of the guys tracking a player like that, or Juan Thornhill often tracking a player like that. A lot was going to be on his plate in this game to sort of be that spy on Fields and kind of read those read option plays and make sure he's making the right decisions quickly. I also think, too, testament to Andrew Berry and the defense that he assembled this offseason, because we have seen that linebacking group as a whole just be able to play so much more free and fly up and make plays because of how good the guys in front of them are. Yeah. You put that group together, you got Shelby Harris, you got Dalvin Tomlinson, you got Myles Garrett, you got Zadarius Smith, you got Jordan Elliott. Like, that group's playing so well that it makes the next level, those linebackers' jobs a little bit easier, because they can clearly see the holes that they need to fill and where they need to fly up and make plays. And I think he has been one of the biggest beneficiaries of that, 100%.
He's been so good, and you couldn't have said it much better than that. One of the things here, we'll get to 3rd down now. Look at this. This is prime Browns football, right? This is just man-to-man coverage, right? This looks like a punt formation. We're man everywhere, okay? You're getting man coverage here, man coverage here, man coverage here, man coverage here. And then you got one high safety. For a quarterback, normally you're licking your chops. You're like, oh, gosh, I'm getting a winner somewhere. But for this group, this is MJ Emerson up top. This is Greg Newsome in the slot. And this is Denzel Ward at the bottom. Coverage rate successes. These are 3 of the top 5 guys in the league. Martin Emerson leads the league 67% of the time. He wins his reps. Greg Newsome is tied for 2nd with 66.7%, as well as Denzel Ward at 66% wins. These guys just are so good. And they test Greg Newsome again. They're going to go in the slot. DJ Moore versus Greg Newsome. And he throws one up. Actually, this is Mooney against Greg Newsome. Doesn't matter. Newsome's on him. He's got it covered up. And this was the 2nd drive of the game. You're like, okay, they're going to test Greg all game long, and he's up for the task today. He was on it.
That's been a theme for teams, like you alluded to earlier. Like, hey, he had a little bit of trouble against the Broncos a couple weeks ago, and teams picked up on it. They're like, oh, we can maybe exploit something there. And I think in recent weeks, especially the last 2 weeks, he's really risen to the occasion and kind of locked it down, which has been good to see, obviously.
And then they punt it back to the offense, and the offense struggling a little bit, can't block them, right? You see the note up top left, just really struggling. This is when you're like sitting there watching, like, all right, we're going to need a defensive score because we cannot block these guys. And the last thing we want, and he does well a little bit later, but the last thing you want is Joe Flacco running and moving his feet.
This is the Browns' 3rd series, right?
3rd series. That's okay. How many.
This is the series that Bitonio exits on.
Yes, so on the screenplay.
This is where things get really dicey at in the plays coming up, because once you lose Bitonio, Michael Dunn comes in, and you realize like this offensive line is being held together truly by like paper clips and rubber bands. Like they are down to the studs in terms of options they have, and I think that's also where like you're really started to see the problems emerge, where they were just leaking from all over the place up front.
And that play Bitonio got hurt on was that screenplay. I pulled it out because I needed to trim down the clips.
No, you're good.
But it was that screenplay, right, where he's pushing down the field, and then they break the huddle. I remember it being really weird while I was watching on TV. They break the huddle, they come up, and then they're like zoomed in on Flacco's face, and then it was like, uh-oh, someone's hurt bad. And it's like, oh, it's Bitonio, and he was down on the knee. But his back, day to day, right? There's been no updates.
Yeah, luckily he's day to day, but as we know with the Browns, given how they handle Deshaun Watson, we don't know what day to day means. So hopefully it's not that serious, and it actually is truly just day to day.
Yeah, but here we go. 3rd and 10 again. Like here's where the line of scrimmage is. Here's the first down. Like just way behind the sticks. This offense looks like super choppy. And they're just look. This, I mean, it's been 3 Brown series. It's now the third Bears series, and we're still in the first quarter. The first quarter is coming to a close here in a moment, but it's like, oh my gosh, this game was just so sloppy early on from an offensive perspective. Definitely dominated by the defense.
Yeah. And I feel like too, like the Bears seem to thrive just rush most of the time rushing 4 and dropping a lot into zone coverages. And it really worked for them throughout a lot of this game. I know that changes a little bit late in the game. They start blitzing a little bit more and Flacco starts to exploit it. And maybe they just get a little bit ahead of themselves and think like, well, hey, this offensive line's banged up. We have a chance to really make something happen here to put this game away. And so they got a little greedy. But yeah, like they kind of laid out a bit of a blueprint here on like if you have a talented front 4, it's not really the blueprint because it's the blueprint for every quarterback, right?
Yeah.
If you can get pressure with 4 guys, drop guys into coverage, you're generally going to have a pretty good day, and they did that today or in this game. Yeah,
they definitely did. And this is one here as we punted it back, gave it back to these guys. D'Anthony Bell almost gets one here, right? So first quarter, he's already made a couple nice plays. We've highlighted him a couple times. Nice tackle. Like if this ball is an inch down or a foot down, this is pick 6, right? This is a perfect throw, right? It's a short throw. He gets 6 yards on it, but it's like, oh my gosh, D'Anthony Bell almost gets one. As you see his hand outreach, gets like a fingernail on it as DJ Moore hits that out route and has to bobble it to make the catch. But again, D'Anthony Bell in the right spot at the right time. All right, here we go. Ronnie Hickman. This is one that I noticed that was like, we left our post in the middle of the field. It's a little choppy to start. I apologize, but Robert Tunyon's currently being guarded by Taki right here. Okay, and as you get Fields coming out on this bootleg, they do a nice job. The Browns do a nice job. You get to this picture, everything's covered up. Okay, everything's covered up. Well, you got Big Bob Tunyon running down the field on Sione Taki, and no one's in the post, right? Ronnie Hickman drives on this over route, and it's one-on-one there, and Fields takes a shot, and holy cow, is a perfect throw. I mean, this is a runner's ball. Like if Tunyon catches this, he's up the sidelines and gone. And it's like, oh boy, they missed a good chance right there.
Can we start that one from the beginning again?
Yeah, it's a little choppy to start.
Yeah. No, you're okay. I want to just see. So it looks like they're in man here.
Yep. So
you're getting yeah. So Hickman's sort of responsibility is just that deep middle of the field.
Yep, just that deep cover 1, right, where he's the one high safety. And honestly, like in these types of plays, when you're going to get somebody in the flat and then you're going to get an over route like this, like his job responsibility potentially is, hey, we're driving on this because this guy in normal circumstances is normally a 3rd level or a 2nd level guy. And you're like, hey, I'm going to take the deeper one. Well, when he disappears across the formation, and I apologize about this clip, but he disappears and Ronnie drives on it, and then it just kind of gets cut loose, and you're getting manned up with Taki, and it's like that's a mismatch down the field. Browns get away with one.
So it's one of those plays for Hickman where he didn't read it incorrectly, but as the play developed, when you got a running quarterback like Fields, it allowed somebody like Tunyon to sort of slip away and make get themselves open downfield. Because again, like in a normal situation, a quarterback probably doesn't have as much time, but Fields is able to make create some extra time with his legs. And that's where you get that sort of blown coverage. So yeah, Absolutely. It's his responsibility, but to your point, it doesn't look like he read it completely incorrectly.
Yeah. And you never know how it's coached. And that was maybe that's how they schemed it up too. Like, hey, Tunyon, get lost, right? Get behind the offense and then take off. Yeah. You never know the ins and outs of it, but it was like, hey, one of those where it's like, oh, they get away with one. You're like, hey, maybe this is the Browns' day. Well, they come back. This is 3rd down, 3rd and short. Here you see the 1st down marker, and they're just going to take a chance. And this is one of the things you have to live with when you play a bunch of man coverage. They're going to go up top to DJ Moore, and sometimes the quarterback makes a perfect throw, and DJ Moore catches this thing right on the sidelines.
That was a good one. I'm curious your thoughts on Justin Fields as a quarterback.
Yeah,
We know there's a lot of debate about him.
Yeah.
I saw a stat something earlier today that was like the last 17 games he's played, and he has like over 4,000 yards. He's got like 31 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, but his passer rating is like 53. So it's weird because like I've always thought he's super talented. We know he's athletic. He's a freak in that way. You don't want to have to tackle him when he's running downfield, and he can make you miss. But it almost feels like there's a lot there, but there's just something missing about his game. But he made some really big throws in this game on Sunday.
The Fields conversation is a wild one because I think there's so much. I think he's very good. I think this Bears team has so many holes in it that he gets masked by it, and especially playing against this defense. Like, we are so lucky to watch this defense week in and week out, where it's like these dudes, this is the best defense in all of the NFL. So you got to take that into account. But when he is able to get out and use his legs, like, this dude's electric. He's one of the more electric runners in all of football. And then you see plays like that one to Tunyon, right? Like, if dude just makes the catch, it's this 80-yard touchdown pass, and the touchdown he throws to Cole Kmet in a little bit, like, it's an amazing athletic play. And there's nothing you really saw on Sunday where it was like super head scratching stuff, but also when you're up 10, you got to put the game away. Like, good quarterbacks find a way to put the game away. So it's like this conversation of like, he's got all the talent and the skills. Is his team letting him down, or is he just not, does he just not have it all? I don't know, man. It's tough.
I got a take that you're not going to like about Justin Fields.
Let it rip.
I think he's going to be the Steelers quarterback.
Yeah. He's either going to be in Pittsburgh, or I was going to say he's going to look good in Atlanta next year. But
and here's the thing. I think Justin Fields is a good player. I don't know that I give up on him, but I think if you're the Bears, if you're not sure and you're going to have a top pick again this year, I think this year they probably are going to draft a quarterback. And I feel like that maybe is the right move for them, because if they're unsure and they don't want to pay Justin Fields what you have to pay a quarterback these days, then maybe they basically kick the can down the road on having to pay a quarterback, and they can keep building the roster around said quarterback, whoever it is. And because of that, I think he's going to become an option for a team like Pittsburgh that clearly has some quarterback issues. I mean, they're starting freaking Mason Rudolph this weekend. I know Kenny Pickett's hurt, but we've had conversations about Kenny Pickett anyway.
Well, Joe Flacco has more touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett.
That's sad. That's pretty sad.
There it is. That's definitely in play. And if I'm the Steelers, like, heck yeah, I go get him.
He also just seems like he'd fit their style. Like, we talk about the old school Steelers, like, oh, they're a running team with a good defense. Like, he'd fit that to a T, man. If you can get the right offensive coordinator for him, man, I think that would be a good move for them. But obviously, we don't want to have to think about that right now.
We want to manifest him going to Atlanta and taking those boys.
Somewhere where his career will just go to die or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I don't mean to be a downer on our Brownie breakdown. That's supposed to be
a victory Brownie breakdowns. But
it was
we got his number. He doesn't like seeing Myles Garrett. So if he has to see him twice a year, that's good for us. Great coverage here by the Browns. You're going to get a nice little blitz here by Greg Newsome. I thought Greg played awesome. And I mentioned it earlier, it's going to be obvious to see that Denzel Ward was not 100%, but this is why you have him out there. Even when he's not 100%, he can still cover with the best of them. The Bears are lining up a shot here, and it's all covered up. Ronnie in a great spot. Denzel, great spot up top. Martin in a great spot. And then Greg Newsome wins on his blitz. And this is just great team defense. A great clip in an area, right, Spence? They just had a big play, right? They're in scoring territory now. They're trying to go, and the defense comes up, right? Boom, 1st and 10. Hey, we're gonna push you back and force you into second down. And then here we go. D'Anthony Bell. We've said his name a number of times. He's at the top of our screen. He's getting blocked right now. This one right here has the makings of a big play. This running back, Dante Foreman's looking like he's going to get the edge, and he's one-on-one with the cornerback. But D'Anthony Bell says, no way. I'm going to shed my block and then ankle roll you. Check this out. Bang. That's awesome. That is awesome.
It's a great play.
Awesome defense.
Yeah. That sometimes is where, like, you can do everything right as an offense or everything right as a defense, and sometimes like just a player being a good player,
Players
and
make plays.
and we maybe don't know exactly. Yeah, when we don't maybe know how good of a player D'Anthony Bell is, he doesn't get a lot of reps. Obviously, he's a reserve guy, but he gets a chance here and he wins his one-on-one and he makes a play out of it. Like that's what football comes down to sometimes. It was awesome to see him thrive.
I think this is the moment you tweeted that SpongeBob gif of like, I can't tell if it's Grant Delpit or D'Anthony Bell. I think this was it because this looks like Grant Delpit, right? You slap 22 on his back and you're like, oh, great play by Grant. He's an all-pro. Instead of 37 and you're like, hey, this is really good. And then, right, so first down after a big play, force an incompletion. Then on second down, stop the run. And then on third down, let's get a strip sack, all right? How about that? How about we cover it up all the way down the field? Nothing's open. Throw it wherever you want to. You can't, and here come the Browns. You can't see the strip sack. It was a good clip of the back view. It was better to see kind of the covered sack here. But ball gets ripped out, and it forces the Bears into a 10-yard loss and now force them into a punt. Like, that's the thing about this defense. They don't even – it's not even like a bend don't break. It's like, hey, get one first down, and we're taking you out, and that's it.
I also think we can't say enough about Jim Schwartz and the job he's done with this group, but, you see on this play – they're in a zone, and you saw a lot of man throughout this drive. So like we got on Joe Woods for not running enough, alterations to the defense. He strictly ran his zone, and it was his zone or nothing else. Jim Schwartz has done such a brilliant job of like working in the zone in the right times, but then letting his guys be aggressive and man for the majority of snaps. So I think it's also about just like knowing where to use that, and he's used it as a tool to hit to this defense's success, which is why he's one of the best in the business.
And even more to your point too, like remember during doing the Seattle game, where like the narrative around this defense is they stink in zone coverage, right? They struggle in zone coverage. How much better have they gotten, right? Like, it's like that continual improvement that no longer when they drop back in zone are you getting these like crazy blown coverages. These guys are sound. They're playing so well, and they're playing on a string. Like these guys are all connected. All 7 of them are all connected. And like you said, you can rush forward and get home because your coverage is so good on the back end. Hey, it's pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. All righty. Browns get lucky here. This was tough. Again, we don't love seeing Joe Flacco rolling around. All right. We don't love seeing him on the move, but this pressure again. And you'll see the adjustment. A lot of these routes were deeper, and that kind of changes throughout the middle portion of this game. But they try to go with their vintage play action, drop back. Everything's covered again, Spence.
This was the sweat play too.
Yep,
James Hudson didn't stand a chance.
Yep, yep. And like Flacco tries to flick it out of bounds. I don't know really what he was doing if he just got hit, but Browns get lucky. Okay, Flacco on the move gets hit. Thankfully, he doesn't get hurt. Thankfully, that ball trickles out of bounds, and they stay alive. But just a pretty lucky play. Again, like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Watch MJ here. He almost gets one. Again, covered up great. Now we get a little bit of pressure. We're covered up. Everything's covered on the deep end. And Fields goes late to the edge, and MJ almost has his 5th pick of the season. He's been playing so good. So good. He's becoming a lockdown guy. All right. We'll skip through this one. This was just cool. All right. Here we go. Second quarter. All right. This was the pick. Okay. So a lot has been said about this interception. You get in motion. All right. This was one. We said it on Sunday night. This is one where Joe Flacco's seen this coverage how many times? Couple million. Okay, knows it's cover 2, knows it's a too high shell. And oftentimes when you do get this too high shell look, this receiver, whoever's running the vertical route, is taught to bend it in front of the safety's face. So this is where he's supposed to be aiming for, okay? When this is drawn up on their in their playbook, the route is this, and then there's a couple dashes off of it, and it'll look like this, okay? That means if you get cover 2, you have to get in front of the safety. You have to. Well, Tillman doesn't see it.
Really good. I mean, this is great insight. Like you're giving some good details as to like what you're sort of taught to do here.
Yeah.
From a receiver standpoint, I think that's useful for people to know.
Absolutely. And you get to the back, you watch, he gets to the backside of this guy, the underneath guy. Flacco's throwing the football. Yes, he's throwing it because he also has pressure, but this is right where Tillman's got to be cutting in, just like this.
And if he does, I mean, look at the room in front of him.
If he does, look at this. Yes, if he cuts here and catches this ball right about there or wherever it would be, like, he's got room to run. Instead, he stays vertical. Flacco takes a hit. The ball's right there, okay? And Eddie Jackson is, boom, right there waiting on it. And when you see it on TV, you're like, what the heck were we throwing at? Well, that's one where a rookie safety or rookie receiver is now never going to make this mistake again. When he sees cover two, when he sees too high shell, and he's on that bender, right, he's going to bend in front of the safety as he's supposed to. But
my initial view of that play, I thought it was more so about the pressure and Flacco taking the hit. Like, I thought, like, oh, he was trying to throw it a little bit further out than that, and it just kind of got short armed because he got hit. But then watching it back again, you realize there was obviously a miscommunication there, which is what you're alluding to. Like, and that's just the nuances of the game. Like, if that's Amari Cooper probably doesn't make that mistake, but it's a rookie. And it's interesting because Tillman's had some really good moments, and he actually had some really good moments in this game.
Yeah.
But then he's also had some moments where you can tell, that's a rookie. He's making mistakes.
And this is one, Spence, where they watched it in tape, and I promise you, he'll never make that mistake again, because this interception's on him. Although the stat goes to Joe Flacco, everybody on this team knows that this pick is on Tillman, and he's like, I'm never going to let that happen again. So this is a good learning moment. You're able to learn it in a win, but unfortunately, in this particular case, it ends up with a pick down to the 1 yard line. Nice tackle by Michael Dunn. That was textbook. So when they do that, remember, this was the debacle series. It took 10 plays to get 1 yard for the Bears. 2 of those is because the Browns had 13 guys on the field, which was chaotic. But I put this in. We'll look at this one real quick. This is a cool moment. Watch Myles Garrett, right? They just called 13 men on the field, and Myles Garrett grabs Justin Fields, and Justin does like a fake jump, and then they both tap each other on the helmet. I thought it was pretty funny, just to the respect that these two have for each other. And also, too, Shelby Harris, number 93, he like sees it. He's like, no, don't do it. And he's like, wait, no, they're just messing with each other. But just a fun little moment between them two.
Fields is like, dude, you sacked me 4.5 times last time we played. Like, we're good.
Get away from me, dude. And then the very next play or a couple plays later, here's Myles turning the corner. And this one was like, oh, he had him wrapped up, dude. We won't get into much of the holding conversation because, man, there could have been, 20 of them called. But Myles turns the edge there and almost had him, gets pushed by. And then Justin Fields, we'll watch this whole clip. Fields, this is spectacular. This is the one where you're like, this dude's got something in him, right? Where he breaks that tackle, sprints out to his left, and rips one right to Cole Kmet.
Yeah. And that was on third. That was on 3rd and goal. This, like that, and that's why that tackle by Michael Dunn is huge, because with this defense, you stop a team short of the end zone, it almost creates an opportunity where, like, hey, we could actually hold them to 3 here, and they almost did.
And if you remember, that stadium started getting into it after a couple stops. Like, the momentum was on the Browns side, and it was like, they might do this. Then he makes a great play. So flip it back to the offense. And after this play, you're like, Joe's not seeing it well today, because he's going to flip his hips and throw it to Tillman right across the middle here. And they showed this on the TV broadcast. I mean, it literally, I don't know how he didn't catch it. It was like a glitch in the system where it like went right through the linebacker, right into Tillman's arm.
It was like in Madden where there's a glitch.
Yes, literally.
You're going to tackle a guy, and then it just like completely goes right through you or something like that.
Right. And you see Tillman's like reaction. He's like, he doesn't even realize he caught it. He's like, how'd the ball get to me? But you're like, Joe may not be seeing it too clearly. And then 2 plays later, we're gonna throw one to Amari Cooper up top. He's just on a simple hitch route. Well, Jalen Johnson, the guy who we were just talking about, one of the best cover corners in all of football, we get away with one because this is pick 6, has pick 6 written all over it. But Amari does a nice job of being a DB. and kind of ripping that thing out. This was a huge sequence, Spence, because we watched that. Okay, we almost have a pick on the first play of the drive. Then we come back and almost have an interception here. And then this is the very next play. Okay, needs something. This offense has nothing going for it. And what do you go to when that's the case? You go to number 2, Amari Cooper. This was massive. This was such a huge play by, hey, when you need something, you got to go to your best players. And Amari Cooper's one of our best. And this was a great catch.
Really good ball, too.
Yeah.
Like, and that's one of the things with Flacco, like, and he talked about it after the game. You have a game like this, you sometimes just want to go in a hole and crawl in a hole and, die. But you got to keep playing. And I think like they always talk about, I'm sure you've heard this, like having a short memory as a quarterback.
Have to.
And he certainly has that. And he goes from almost throwing 2 interceptions, not really feeling his best self today in terms of his play, through the interception the series prior that leads to a touchdown. And then when he needs a play, he makes a throw like that to really get some momentum kind of going for the offense.
It's really special. And it's like really hard when you are playing bad as a quarterback. And I've had my fair share of bad ones, obviously not at this level, but when you're playing bad, remember when Sam Darnold said the ghost thing, like you're seeing ghosts, and it got caught. Like that's true. Like everywhere you look, like it feels like everything's covered, and it feels like you're so suffocated and there's nothing open. And then you start like what the amazing part about Flacco was he didn't get trigger just like nervous to throw the ball. Like he was still ripping that thing. And that's one of the things when you start playing bad, it's like you get really hesitant. You start second guessing yourself. He didn't have that in him at all in the second half. A sneaky play that gets forgotten about, sub DTR in on 4th down. Okay, it's 4th and 2. I skipped through a couple plays here because it just gets to 4th and 2, and this is the important one. Send Jerome Ford in motion. It felt like this wasn't supposed to be the play. Like it kind of felt choppy in my eyes. And he's like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to throw it out there. Great block by Elijah Moore. Got away with a hold. Every time, fun fact for everyone at home, every time someone throws their arms up like this, they're guilty. Okay, it's like, yeah, it's like, please throw the flag on me. I didn't do anything, so I'm going to throw my hands up. They're guilty when they do that. But gets away with one, and then Jerome Ford moves the sticks. Like this is 4th and 2 in the red zone, down 7-0. DTR comes in. Great play.
I'm not gonna lie, that play in real time, I was like, this was what were they doing here?
What are we doing?
I mean, this was one of those times where you really wish if you're the Browns, you really wish you had Nick Chubb, because it was pretty straightforward. Like, just get the first down, and this felt like one of those Kevin Stefanski trying to get too cute. You know what it felt like? It felt like last year when he brought in Jacoby Brissett on 4th and 1, acting like he was going to QB sneak it, and then Jacoby Brissett threw like a fade down the far sideline, and it was like
Cincinnati, right?
Yeah. Like it was just too cute. Like I didn't get it, and if not for Jerome Ford making a really athletic play, we're maybe looking back on that one differently. But yeah,
we're looking like, what the heck was that? And it is crazy. There's like 5 of those big ones in every game. And like, it felt like when the Browns needed a play, the play went their way. And that was one of them. It was a huge, huge play. One thing about Tillman, right? We just talked about how he maybe misread a route on the other side. This dude plays really hard, and he's got very reliable hands. He's going to be at the top of our screen right here. Okay. We're going to get a nice bootleg coming from the backfield, fake the run, fake the pitch outside, and we're going to roll out. And this is so good. This is so good by Joe. Like, watch him. He's already flipped his hips back. He hasn't even taken 2 steps. Like, hey, you're covered. You're covered. I know that if those 2 are covered, they don't have enough on the backside. So then you see Tillman coming across here. And, like, Flacco's so effortlessly accurate. Just, like, look at him. He off one foot, flips his hips, puts it on Tillman's back shoulder for a spinning catch, which is perfect. And keeps his momentum going, actually pushes him up the field, and almost forces him into the end zone for his first touchdown. So good. Just rips him up the field. Awesome. Sets up 1st and goal from the 1. Can't run it in because we were getting kind of bullied all day. So let's throw it to Chief and let him just make an unbelievable play. There he is. He's coming up. He's in the end zone already. He's feeling it. We've all seen the clip a million times, but like,
I mean, this was totally just give your guy a chance play. Like,
just give your guy. And here's the rule, Spence. here's the rule. Whenever the DB turns his head, he's open. Okay, your quarterback's up top. If you see the back of his head, he can't see you. So you could throw this ball anywhere, and Brisker's going to have no idea where it's at, right? Because he can't see it. So when
at that point, Brisker's just hoping, he's playing the back line. He's like,
Yep.
if I can get this guy out of bounds, then we're good.
Yep.
But yeah.
And you even see Flacco here. Look, once he turns his head, he's like, all right, I'm going to chuck this thing, and throws it literally like right on top of Brisker's helmet. And just says, hey, Chief, go be the athletic freak you are. We're all on Twitter. Everything that's being said about David Njoku is so well-deserved. I mean, this guy, unbelievable.
In the press box, we weren't sure if that was going to stay. It looked like his heel was down on the line.
Okay.
It was close.
I'm one of the biggest Browns fans you'll find. I don't know how they called that a touch. Like I thought he was like, oh, it's incomplete. Let's try this again. But hey, sometimes I like being wrong. That's one of those cases.
This is a year where Browns fans can't complain about never getting calls, man. All the calls have 100% gone the way of Browns fans. I'm not saying you don't have a case in other years that there weren't some questionable things that have gone on that have helped the other team, but this year, like along the lines of this just being this season of unprecedented circumstances surrounding this team, same sort of thing applies. Like this is the year where you get all the calls because it seems like a lot's going the Browns' way this year for sure.
They have everything going
other than the holds. They don't get the holds on Myles Garrett, but they get everything else.
And that's it. It's like the football guys are like, we're done here, and you guys whine. We're done. Done.
Well, maybe that's a sacrifice. Maybe it was like, listen, the football guys are like, we'll start giving you some other calls in your way. We won't take any touchdowns off the board when it's a really, really close call like the David Njoku one. But, hey, Myles Garrett is just never going to get called for a hold, okay?
And we're going to injure a quarter of your team. So there you go.
Can you live with that? And people are like, yeah, I guess that's fine as long as we get the calls for once.
And us crazy fans are like, deal. Fine. We'll take it. Good one here, right? Flacco, this is kind of your standard. We've seen a lot of like those comeback routes. Cooper's been living on it. I think he could have ripped one out here. He's obviously looking to the top of the screen. I think you have Cooper here if he wanted it, but wasn't looking that way. Going to use his legs to create. This scared the crap out of me when he turned and threw this thing back across his body because everything quarterbacks, once they do this, it's picked to the house. And I'm like, please, God, hit the ground, please. Instead, it hit Elijah Moore, split his 8, and it got a first down. But
I think the difference on that play, heads up by Elijah Moore, because you see him like he comes back to the ball.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Like a lot of times when you see that the guy waits, Moore coming back to the ball prevented it from getting picked.
It's a great point.
So I think that was probably a factor in that play as well. Because you're right. I mean, casual NFL or football fans know like the number one rule for a quarterback is do not throw back across the field across your body.
When you do, it's an interception every single time. But you make a great point. Moore comes back and makes a play for his guy. This one's a cool one. I love this clip. It like took my breath away when it happened. Flacco throws this ball 900 miles an hour. Like this thing is cut loose, and it's just a curl. But you can see he gets to the top of his drop, 5-step drop, one hitch, and he just freaking rips that thing. Doesn't get the first down, but again, goes to Cedric Tillman, and Tillman with big hands, big body catch, tracks it down, catches it with his hands, and gets 13 yards, there on that second down. There must be a nice rapport between Tillman and Flacco. We're going to go to him at the bottom. We won't spend much time on this because Tillman just gets bullied right out of bounds. Like, this is one where it's like, they could have thrown a flag. This was like, dude, you just got bullied and you just got pushed out of bounds. Like we can't just throw our hands up and be begging for a call, in my opinion. But hey,
no, I think that's fair.
Yeah,
like Tillman's trying to sort of argue like the pass interference thing, but like, man, like you can't let him ride you out of bounds. Yeah,
you just can't do it. It's amazing too. Like I mean, Tillman's a huge body. He's gonna give him a shot, but like, if it were me, just being honest, like I'm going to my Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper side, maybe have one or two guys, but doesn't matter, right? He decides to go to the bottom to Tillman. I don't argue it. It's just he kind of gets pushed out of bounds and kind of takes it. Just not a good rep for him. So we go into halftime, right? Tied 7s. and you come out and you're like, all right, we need a drive, or we need a stop, and then we need a score. Okay. This game's been sloppy, but you're still in it. And you really just need a little momentum. Take the lead. They can't do anything on offense, and then just kind of bleed the clock out. Well, none of that happens except for the stop. Shelby Harris, awesome. First play out of the possession, or out of halftime. Give me a 4-yard tackle for loss, and I'm just going to eat your lunch. Like, this is awesome. He comes from the nose tackle position right here, gets inside of the center, makes a nice swim move, and just boom, perfect start to the second half here.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Patrick Lucas was doing on that one.
No,
he let him right by.
It's not been his best year, and that was not that play's not going on the highlight reel. And neither is this one. This potentially is an offsides, but I'm giving Dalvin Tomlinson a great get off. That's what I'm giving him. He's right here. He times the snap off perfectly, and he is in Fields' lap immediately. And again, Spence, right? What did we just talk about? How good has this team been, in their zone coverages now, right? Here we go. You could try to rip one here to DJ Moore. There may be a window. There may not be. These guys close it fast, but there's D'Anthony Bell in a good spot. Taki, good spot. Denzel Ward, good spot. Ronnie Hickman, good spot. JOK, good spot. And there's just nowhere to go with the football. We got to dump it and throw it away. It's an awesome job by that defense. And then 3rd and long, right? Here we go. Here's the here's the line of scrimmage. Here's the first down. Okay, so it's third and a mile. This is a scary one because it's, hey, we're gonna let Miles hunt, and he gets around the edge and almost gets to Justin Fields. I mean, this is the one where it's like, how does this ball find the turf? Okay, Miles loops the edge, almost gets home. You get pressure in his face, and Fields just is getting pulled back and flips this thing up in the air. Like, this could have been picked off by 6 guys. Instead, it falls harmlessly to the turf. But great defensive series. Exactly what the doctor ordered. Coming out of half. So then you flip it to the offense, and now you're in good field position. Okay, you're on your 40-yard line. You got to be thinking points. Instead, we go points the wrong direction. And the back view tells this story pretty well. Flacco's a little bit late to this, and he misses it so far inside, or I guess to the sideline. And you'll see it here. We don't have to watch the return. Yeah. But this is just a good view, because some people have been saying, and me and you even talked about it, like, hey, this was on Tillman's hands. Yes, it was. But because if Flacco puts this thing right here, we're fine. This is safe. It's a completion. Instead, look where he misses it. And Tillman just gets tattooed. Like, this hurts.
Yeah. He made, if you like, Tillman's there.
Yep.
And he makes him, he is sort of settled into that soft spot. Mm-hmm. And after we talked about this, I went back and watched the play again and realized, like, your perspective on it makes a ton of sense. Like, yeah, at face value, I think the whole saying of, if it hits your hands, you got to catch it, that we like to throw out there. Yeah. And you get like Wes Welker in the Super Bowl dropping that pass, and everyone's like, oh, well, it was clearly Wes Welker's fault when Brady obviously threw a ball that he probably wishes he had done taken a little bit off of it.
Yep.
I think we ride that phrase a lot and we lean on it. So we're like, well, obviously it hit his hand, so it's his fault. But to your point, like, you go back and watch this play, and I was ready to, like a lot of people say, well, Tillman had two of the interceptions are on Tillman. This one certainly feels more on Flacco because of the point you're making. Like,
yeah,
he's kind of settled in, and then because of where he puts the ball, he has to then, like, move his body and turn into the middle of the defense again. And yeah, because of that, it creates the opportunity for the ball to get deflected and then intercepted.
If this ball is on the 1 and the 9, he catches this and takes a big hit, and it's 2nd and 4. Instead, he misses it there, and I mean, that's a shot. And then Tremaine Edmonds does the rest, but boom! I mean, that hurts, man. That hurts. But I personally put that one on Joe Flacco. All right,
I'm sure he would too. So
yep. So now you're down 14-7. We can't get anything going. We just throw a pick 6. Life is not good. And then you give it back to the Bears, and now they start moving the ball. Okay, this is the dreaded pin and pull play that we've been seeing these last 3 weeks now. Started in Denver, and now we're seeing it where we just get a block down on Myles Garrett, and then you get that tackle wrapping around, and it creates a massive hole for the offense. So you see it rearing its head. Here, every team's going to do it until we can figure out a way to stop it. But one thing to watch is Denzel Ward. This is telling me that he's not healthy. Watch this here, right here. Like, he's like, I'm not getting in the mix there. He's not 100%. And this is okay. Like, we don't want to risk him on a tackle here, but kind of it's concerning later on in the game when he does the same thing and almost costs us the end there.
Yeah, you mentioned the pin and pull play. There were some others kind of up the middle. Like, there were some larger chunk plays that the Bears kind of were able to get going in the run game that I initially, before I checked the box score after the game, was like, man, the defense didn't play very well against the run today.
Yeah.
And then I went back and looked, and I was like, they only gave up 88 yards, but it was like a lot of those plays were like, 9, 10, 11-yard runs.
That's it.
And there were some other ones thrown in where they lose yardage, and that obviously helps the cause. But you're right. Like, there's something there if a team really commits to it. But the problem is, like, this defense, they don't usually give up all those at once. So you're not necessarily moving the sticks, and so you're forced to pass, and then that's where they want you to be. So
and truly too, it's like when you play as well as the Browns defense did, and they force all those 3 and outs, when teams do start stringing drives together and they have a couple of those chunk plays, you're like, holy cow, like, we can't stop anything. Well, they haven't been on the field, it's like, it feels odd. And then they start stringing together plays. And this is when you thought the Bears were kind of taking the game over. And they have this jet sweep here. Daron Harmon was on a couch last week. We just signed him. He kind of gets left in the dust. Now you're like, this isn't really what we need. But they to their credit, they come back. The Bears try to do that pin and pull play again, but the Browns linebackers are all over it. Taki blows this thing up, kind of gets in the way, and then makes a really nice tackle there to kind of, hey, stop the bleeding, right? We need to stop the bleeding and force them to kick a field goal. And then we get to third down. Okay. Denzel Ward, yes, he may not be 100%, but this is why you keep him on the field. This is why, if you're even healthy enough to be out there, you need you, because we're going to put you on their best guy and you got to lock him up, right? One-on-one shot. This is just, hey, this is a gutsy play. Am I going to win this rep? And Denzel Ward does. Like, he's on him like plaster, and he's healthy enough to get his guitar celebration in there at the end. But a huge stop that forced the field goal. All right, same story as all game, right? Some deeper routes, okay? We get a little bit of pressure up here. Flacco and Amari kind of fell in love with this bang 8 post where Amari gets to 8 yards, puts his foot in the ground, and Flacco's got the ball on him. Think back to the Rams game when he came right out of that break and that ball was right on his chest. This is something very similar where Flacco's on the top of his drop. He pulls the trigger, has pressure in his face, and just misses it high. Like, that could have been a nice little chunk play to get some momentum, but instead it's a little bit of a high miss. And then again, right, the Browns love these deep curls. Okay, here's the first down marker. This is like a sticks route where it's like, hey, get to the sticks and turn around. Okay, so get somewhere in here like this. But the problem is we can't block anything. And that leads to a big sack. And now it's like, oh gosh, like, we're in big, big trouble here.
They only brought 4 on that play, right? Am I saying that correctly? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
A little bit of a nice game up front.
They had a couple stunts. They had the stunt off the left side.
Yep.
Guys traded places. But yeah, these were the types of plays, though, where, to your point, you just realize the Browns offensive line had like no answer for
no chance. They had no chance. We'll fly through this.
By the way, on the pregame show, I wasn't trying to marginalize Montez Sweat and say he wasn't going to have a good day, but my point was kind of like, hey, we've seen Myles Garrett when he has a running mate be way more effective, and with Yannick Ngakoue going on the IR earlier in the week, I was like, yeah, is he going to be as effective today? And man, like, he made me eat my words for that, because he even without Ngakoue on the other side of him, he was fantastic. I mean, he was feasting. And a part of that is he's really good. Part of that is he probably figured he was probably licking his chops when he saw he was going to be matching up with James Hudson and Jaron Christian, who and listen, Christian's been a little bit better, I think, than Hudson. They both held their own for the most part, but you get a matchup against this defense, and it made life hard for him for sure.
Yeah, he was special. He had finished with 3.5, but I thought he had 4, and they gave him a half instead. But he was awesome. He was so good, unblockable. Awesome play here by Greg. Here we go. They're just kind of a little exotic run play again, right, Spence? This is a pin and pull. This is the same concept. We're gonna get a block down. Look, the tackle's gonna pull out, but Greg slips through, makes a really nice play on Justin Fields. This is a good design. This is a good play design. Using your quarterback, when you can use your quarterback to run the football, you get an extra hat in the run game, and you're in good shape.
You mentioned trying to stop that. That's almost how you do it. Like you need somebody in the secondary or a linebacker to slip through and sort of elude a block and be able to make a play like that. That's almost how you get that play to stop.
They're so long developing. Like the last one we stopped when Taki made the play. Like if you can just stop one of these poolers in their tracks, like it blows the whole thing up. But when this tackle can get out running and gets a free lane, and then the running back just follows him, like there's not much left. But a great place, just sneaking inside and getting that TFL. I thought Greg was awesome on Sunday, man. I thought, he's one of those guys. And two, like there's a couple guys on this defense. JOK is one. He's another. Like, it doesn't matter. They're down 10 at this point, and he's like, come on, boys. Like, he's still got the energy, right? He's doing his celebrations. Yes, it's corny sometimes, but it's like, hey, just keeping the team in it and keep their faith high, keep the beliefs high, because you're a couple plays away now with Joe Flacco playing quarterback. Here you go. Here's the third down marker. There's the line of scrimmage. There's the first, right? So this is just a get out of dodge play by the Bears, and it almost comes back to bite them. Like Myles Garrett, whew, that'd have been nice if that had hit him right in the 9 and the 5, and he was gone the other way, but wasn't able to get it done. So here's a huge sequence in the game. Okay, we're trailing end of the third quarter. We're going to start this with an RPO. Great play design, great catch by Cedric Tillman. I'd have loved to see him try to make a move here and try to go score. Instead, he says, I'm going to be a bowling ball and just run right through you. Yeah. But still, awesome play. Okay, now you're at the 50
and this is what I mentioned earlier. Like, you get some good moments from Tillman, and then you get the lapses where you're like, okay, still clearly learning some things. But this was a great play. Yeah, but this was a great play by him for sure.
Yeah, he's got this in him, and I think he's going to be a really nice piece for Cleveland here. But a great start to the drive, and now you're like, okay, Kevin's going to get a little creative here. Let's get 3 points. Let's just get 15 more yards and at least get a field goal. Well, instead, we don't do that. Okay, here's our first down marker. We go incomplete, and now we're at third down. Okay, so we haven't been able to do anything. We haven't been able to protect, and then we're going to try to dial something up down here at the bottom. Well, we don't get off the line. Tillman slips up here at the line of scrimmage. Their release is all messed up, and they have something here. They're going to get a little bit of a crosser action, whether it's a crosser for Njoku to come open or a crosser for Tillman to come open. Regardless, in that man coverage, it's really hard. You see that a lot, those crossers to try to get the defenders off their lanes. Our timing's all messed up, and we bust inside, can't block anything, and we take a huge sack. So after that big RPO on first down, we get a huge chunk play. We just go backwards, and now we're forced to punt. So we're waiting for this break, and we finally get it. Mahmoud Diabate, right place, right time. Dude fumbles the punt, his second fumble of the afternoon. He recovered the first one, doesn't recover the second one. And now we're like, all right, Browns magic. We got it. We're coming back. This hurts. Because this is a great scheme, right? You weren't watching it, but right here, Sanchez started losing his mind. He's like, he's open. He starts yelling, he's open. And like Flacco, he should be throwing the ball right now.
Yeah, he was late. He was very late.
Here, watch, he hitches up once and doesn't get anything on it. It's like, oh man, he's got to come out of this play fake ready to throw now. Like the ball's got to be ready to go right now, because if he throws this ball about right here, Njoku catches this on his upfield shoulder and just waltzes into the end zone, and it's a Chief slam. Instead, Tyreek Stevenson does the really good fold over and textbook play.
What do you think made Flacco hesitate?
Yeah, so this is a tough read. So, You turn your back. He turns his back to the coverage. Okay. There's one read here. He knows he's getting man. He knows he's getting one high. This isn't man. This is cover 3. So you're going to get one high. He's going to cover a third, and then he's going to cover a third. But you see when Tyreek Stevenson covers it, you split the difference between both vertical guys. But when Flacco turns his back to the defense, he's got to have something in his mind where I'm turning and I'm looking for number 9. Wherever he is, wherever Brisker is, I'm throwing opposite, or whoever the guy is. It almost looks like he doesn't identify it. Like he's looking to the middle and he's like, uh-oh, he's not here because this guy is over on the far hash. It's like he misses it. It's like, then he's like, oh my God, he's wide open. Like he's wide ass open. And at this point, you're like, I'm late. So it was just like he missed his target, or he missed his point. When he turned to look, he's like, my guy's not there. I don't know what to do. It was like he was like too open almost and just hesitated enough. It just was like, if he had the reps,
you give some credit to Brisker on that, because you mentioned, whichever way he's leaning and you're throwing the opposite, he kind of plays it straight down the middle. Like he doesn't really lean either direction there. And it sounds like you're sort of saying like that's maybe what threw him off a little bit was, well, I'm not seeing him break either way.
Yeah.
So then he has to decide off of that where he's going.
And like froze him. It's a really nice job. And a lot of times these safeties are smart too, right? They get paid to play too. So they're like, hey, I'm going to stay over here knowing he's going to flip his hips and throw it back. So I'm baiting him into that throw. And he does a really nice job. I think this is really good. Njoku's open. Like this ball, if I'm telling you, if Flacco had been playing all year, like he comes out of this break, he's seen it a bunch of times. This is one where he's like, dude, I haven't maybe not have seen it this much, or I haven't seen this rep this much. So he comes out and he's just a touch late. And dude, even being late, even now he's late, if he at this point puts this on the R, like right here, you got a chance. Instead, he tries to still kind of rip it on that line, and Tyreek makes a great play. It's a tough clip. That's a hard throw to make coming out of that play action, but he's got the arm to do it. No question about it. You'll see the back view here. Here's a good look at his eyes.
This play too felt like this is where I think it started to feel like the game was over.
Oh yeah. Big time over.
Like it was like, oh, Flacco's throwing 3 interceptions. Magic's wearing off. He's missing an easy throw like that. There's just nothing's going their way. And the things that do go their way, then they quickly go back towards the Bears' way. Like it just felt like that was a backbreaker.
And then they come out and do this, and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go. Like a great run on first down. And then they try to throw it against Greg again, but Greg does a really, really good job here at the bottom of your screen. And this is huge.
Play the game coming up. The game coming up.
Yep. So this is big. Like, hey, this is a good stop, but they're in scoring range. If they can get another first down, right, they're in it. So now you got fourth down. Here's Cam Mitchell right here. This is Darnell Mooney making a big mistake, I believe. But I think this is a good play. I think there's 2 ways Fields could have gone with the ball, and he chose the third option. He chose door number 3, and it was wrong. Mooney doesn't seal it in. I think Fields could flip this thing and throw a touchdown to DJ Moore. Instead, he goes and tries to get the edge, and by the fingertips, Cam Mitchell just trips him up, man. And there he goes. Lands a hair short of the first down.
Unfreaking real.
Dude.
Unreal.
This is the play of the game. It's the play of the game. Because if he gets that first down, not only that, if he stays on his feet, he's not just getting the first down. It's Greg Newsome versus Justin Fields one-on-one. You don't know how that goes. He could get a big chunk play on this, and they're getting points and, more importantly, taking more time off the clock. Instead, he's down by right there. I mean, a length of a football. He's short. And guess what? Happens very next play after the false start. Here we go. This is the guy we signed in the offseason. This is what we've been looking for.
Welcome back.
Great design and an unbelievable throw in stride. Marquise Goodwin. Beautiful. Like, this is gorgeous. So the concept here, you're going to come inside and get a hook route here by Amari Cooper. What this does is he drives vertically enough to bring this safety down, driving on Amari Cooper. So this guy's now out of the picture. Now what you do here is you send Marquise across the field like this into his zone. And then what I would have done is send Elijah on a go ball. They have him on like an in route. And you'll see why I say that, because you see there, Coop shuts it down. He drives. And now you're 2-on-1 out here. Okay. So if Elijah's
it's covered,
deep,
so it's cover 2.
yep, it's cover two. So he's in the flat. He's in the flat. Okay. You get your flat defenders. You're responsible for the deep half. And he deletes his responsibility, and he's responsible for the deep half. Okay.
And Goodwin already knows he's got him beat because he's facing the opposite sideline. He's like, bye.
Right here, Goodwin's like touchdown, like literally like touchdown. Like, please, Joe, throw it. And he does. And it's a perfect ball. Good way to track him back. And that was a nice play. But so good. Great design. I think the next iteration of it, and you'll see it here, like if you see Elijah breaking in, like I think the next iteration is like go there and throw a touchdown.
Because then you make Eddie Jackson choose.
Yep.
Like
so
he has to take whoever's the deep guy, and he's got to pick one, and he's obviously going to stick with the guy on his side of the field. So
you pick Goodwin. He picks Goodwin. We throw a touchdown over his head. He picks Elijah Moore, touchdown over this way. Doesn't matter. That's just me being weird and picky and being a nerd. But yeah. So huge play.
Next offensive coordinator.
Right. Yeah. Right. So what happens is it's kind of disappointing. We don't score a touchdown. Okay. Just kind of stall out, kick the field goal. So now 17-10. This play by Ronnie Hickman is equally important as what Cam Mitchell did. We need a 3-and-out. We have to get the football back. Well, on first down, huge hole. Okay. Massive hole. And Ronnie makes a great tackle. Okay. Makes a really nice tackle. And what does it do? It turns a potentially 10-yard gain into a 7-yard gain. So he stops him there. Then on second down, they stuff him. And now it's 3rd and short, Spence, and they're going to do their jet sweep that, remember, about a half hour of our time ago, worked for a huge gainer. Well, Alex Wright has other ideas. Okay, they send him across in motion, and Alex Wright swallows that thing up, man. This play was huge because it forced a 3-and-out. If Ronnie Hickman doesn't make that tackle on 1st and 10, and they don't stuff it on second down, and they don't do this on third down, like the game's getting away from you.
Yeah. These last couple sequences of plays, you talk about that next man up mentality. Like this speaks to that to a T. Alex Wright's out there because Obo Okoronkwo's not playing. Ronnie Hickman's out there because Grant Delpit's not playing. And you got 2 guys just stepping in and feeling comfortable enough to make a play that obviously helps win you the game. Like it's been the story of the season, but cool to see it kind of play out in that way on one specific series as well, kind of back-to-back plays here.
Look at this. To your point, Siaki Ika, Ronnie Hickman, D'Anthony Bell, Shelby Harris, Alex Wright making a play. And then I think this is I saw Cam Mitchell running around. I actually think that's him right there, kind of getting eaten up. But like backups everywhere and making a huge play. So this one doesn't lead directly to points, okay? So they punt it back to us. And again, I just threw this in there because we still can't block them. Like, guys are open. We still can't block them. So it's like, all right, we're getting close. We need big plays. We need another stop. And the defense is ready. This was awesome from Jeremiah. Again, we haven't called his name here in a while. Watch him trigger. Call this a green dog. And what this is, when your guy blocks, so he's responsible for – it looks like the running back, okay? So you're going to get some kind of man, right? Your man here, man here. Look, he's running with the motion there. So JOK is responsible for the running back. When he sees him blocking like this, he triggers. You see him just like, boom, go. So he green dogs it and makes a huge, great play. It's funny because if he doesn't do this, Ronnie Hickman picks this ball off and is like super gone. But it's still a great play. I just love seeing it because Ronnie's like in the catch zone of where Justin was throwing it on this in route. But JOK makes an awesome play to deflect it and cause an incompletion. Quick one, Dalvin Tomlinson was awesome. There he is. Here he is right in the middle. He had like a 94 PFF grade. He was like one of the highest in all of NFL this week. So he makes a nice play. And then again, here we go. There's number 6. He's playing as an all-pro, coming off the edge. Boom. Huge sack on Justin Fields. He was awesome. All right. I told you we weren't going to get into the hold conversation. Myles Garrett up top. I mean, this is just, dude's going to get hurt. I mean, this is insane. This is crazy. Yeah. There's like rips him down. Like that's
I
the
got
danger.
into a Twitter spat with somebody about that because there was a bunch of pictures shared of Myles Garrett, and he was like, "Well, not all these are holding." And I was like, "The point of the conversation isn't. First of all, I understand how the rule works. Like, there's the whole like inside, outside arms and all that, and like they're not always going to call it just because your arms might be kind of going one way or the other. But there's some blatant ones, and that's the main point here. It's like if it's a hold, it's a hold. Like it's not about like, well, sometimes they'll call it, so it kind of, and sometimes they won't, so it bounces out in the end. Like no, like plays like that where he's getting grabbed on his jersey, or if he's like breaking past a guy and he's got his arm around his neck, like those are clearly holds, and they should be called. But again, we don't have to. We don't have to get into that all tonight.
It's insane. It's insane. So here we go. Best throw I've seen in a long, long time. Okay. One thing before we get to the throw is I would love, and they did a really good breakdown of this on Cleveland Browns Daily, the protection they started doing to Montez Sweat. So what they were doing towards the end as he was killing them, okay, they were using Njoku to start with a chip. So you see him chip here, and then they were bringing the backside or the front side guard. I guess in this case, this is Michael Dunn. They were bringing him on like a pool so that Njoku would chip, and then once he got off of it, there was help on the backside. They did this a number of times in the final couple possessions where now it almost he's like feeling screen. Like he's like, this is weird. This doesn't look right. But they use him as a chip, and then they have protection outside. So all of the clips we showed where we couldn't block anything up, like look at this pocket. Like nobody within 7 yards. Awesome. This throw is insane.
And the chip helps because it's pushing Sweat further outside. It's giving you space. Yeah.
Yep. Winds him a ton. Okay. You're gonna get a vertical here, and then Amari sneaking in beside it. I mean, this is sick. This is supposed to be picked off. Here's a cover 2 corner. Here's your Mike linebacker. Here's your safety. I believe the direct quote after the game was Flacco said the hole was huge.
Yeah.
And I just ripped it. This hole is not huge, my friend. This is disgusting. The throw, the catch, the broken tackle, the run, the almost step out of bounds, the everything. The camera shaking because this place is going berserk.
Dude, I mean, it's funny because in real time you're watching this develop. And I see him looking, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, Amari is going to clear. Like, I'm like, Amari is going to be open. But it's also only for such a split second that I was like, oh, man, this is going to be a tough throw. And he lets it go, and I was like, at first I really thought it was intercepted. I was like, oh, no. And then somehow he squeezed it in. And that too, I think, goes to just how strong of an arm he still has. You know?
This is psychotic. Look at this. He's not even – he's like, yeah, I knew he was going to clear. In his postgame, he's like, yeah, he cleared the backer and he threw it. He is not clear of the backer. The ball's in the air. The ball's in the air. Look at this. This is crazy. Look at that. I mean, he said it after – Mari said it after the game. He couldn't have walked out there and placed it in his hand any better than what he did. Just so unbelievable. The throw was crazy. It's my favorite thing ever, watching the crowd just lose their mind. But, I mean, look at that. Just absolutely insane.
It's an incredible throw. I mean, that's one of the best throws you'll ever see in your life.
And now we're rolling, right? The very next play, Miles TFL, he gets up going crazy on this one. And now it's like the boys are buzzing. It's third down. It's third and long. Here we go, 3rd and 15. And they just do a great job. They just Bears just check it down. MJ Emerson rallies. And you're like, holy cow. I don't know how. I don't know why. But we're going to win this football game. 1st and 10. Why is this wide open? Well, this guy, Marquise Goodwin, just burnt them for 60 yards 2 drives ago. So what we're going to do, we're going to send you deep on a go ball. And we're just going to take you, Chief, and bring you right like this. And then we're going to get somebody in the flat. You're going to get Jerome Ford to run it. Or no, Mari coming from the backside into the flat. But it doesn't matter. Marquise is such a deep threat that it pulls everything out. And it was like, I remember sitting there being like, hey, we just need 30 yards to get into field goal range. Well, give me 30 on the first, give me 20 on the first play. And then this was funny. We talked about this at the end, but
the fact that he's always trying to hurdle somebody. I mean, come on.
That's his go-to, man. Mash all the buttons and I'm just going to meet you at the top. They laughed afterwards.
Who was that? Cool. Who was that? Was that Jackson? Was that
Tyreek Stevenson? It was their corner.
Oh, Stevenson. That's right. I couldn't remember if it was Jackson or Stevenson. But yeah, he said after the game that they were kind of like joking with each other. Just about like they both kind of laughed at each other because he thought he was going to go low and then he didn't. And so
Yeah.
I thought that was a funny moment from Njoku. Like, hey, yeah, we both kind of laughed because he knew what I was trying to do, and he was kind of like, well, like, really?
What are you doing, dude? I'll meet you at the top.
Oh man.
Well, play the game here. 3rd and 15. I don't love what the Bears did. Obviously, I think if you ask them, they would take this coverage back, but they end up dropping their defensive tackle in the coverage. You're going to get just this deep coverage look and bring some pressure. You could do that against DTR, and it would probably freak him out. Against Joe Flacco, he's just going to go off his back foot and float one up to David Njoku, who catches it, turns upfield. Oh, he could get tackled here. Instead, give me 20 yards of not yards after catch, yards after contact. Totally insane. This guy's a freak, man.
You're right about, I don't know what Chicago was thinking. Like you were kind of beating him all game by playing more coverage. And in this instance, it was like you kind of outsmarted yourself. Like he has the IQ to know he's going to be able to get that ball over a defensive tackle trying to guard Njoku.
Yep.
I don't know. Like it was almost like you made his job a little bit easier when you were getting home and just dropping more guys into coverage that weren't defensive tackles. But
why they did it?
I mean, maybe again, this is where we talked about earlier. Like maybe it was like a hubris thing. Like, offensive line's banged up. They kind of stink. We think we can get home with anybody, so we'll try it. But I also just think it speaks to Flacco's poise because all game long he struggles, and then in these moments he stays calm, cool, and collected, and he makes some big plays down the field and gets them in scoring position, and they go out and kick the game-winning field goal. Like he wasn't rattled, even though he'd had such a bad performance. And yeah, it was. This is what the Browns needed, and what the Browns frankly need on this stretch. Like they need a guy who can, in those moments, in those instances, deliver and understand what's happening around him, and that's what Flacco gave you. So
no doubt, it was so good. So good. Just two more here. This is one where it's like, Denzel's like super hurt because you see him. He's like on the sidelines. And this is one where they just are trying to tackle in bounds to end the game, but they just don't tackle anybody. The ball gets caught right here. And this is Denzel running right here on the sidelines. He just does the old Olay, like doesn't even stick an arm out. So it's like, hey, very clearly something's not right. And it almost screws us. Like it almost like we all were like, you got to be kidding me. Like, here we go. We're going to overtime. But a couple of plays happen, and then here's my thoughts on that. Sheesh. This was crazy. This was nuts. I mean, this is such a Browns way to lose, and this is how you know it's Team of Destiny vibes because, I mean, how do you not? Look at that. What if I told you this ends up as an interception? You wouldn't believe me. But bang.
Myles Garrett after the game mentioned that Fields, before he threw it, he kind of like because he booted out to his left, and he said, yeah, Fields looked over. He looked over at me to kind of see where I was before he was going to throw the football. Yeah. Again, it goes back to his impact on the game, right? Like that's the player he was looking for in the closing seconds to see, like, am I going to have time to get this off? But yeah, I mean, the Hail Mary itself, I actually didn't see it in real time because I saw it on the TV, but I was waiting outside the media room for them to let us in there. And so they had like TVs out there, and I kind of saw it, and I heard like the reaction of the crowd. I was like, oh man, like what kind of happened? And I saw the replay of it. I was like, oh my God. It was pretty, I mean, that's insane. If you're Darnell Mooney, like you're obviously kicking yourself. Kevin Stefanski said that they would have played that differently. It's so hard because in those situations, you say you're going to play it a certain way, but I feel like half the time it doesn't work out the way that you think it's going to work out. Like
it's really tough because like
sometimes you got guys trying to go for the interception, and they always say like that's not wise. Like just bat the ball down. But in that instance, it was kind of like okay, let's just like get it out of here, and you batted it down almost. And I think this is how teams are now running it too. They leave kind of that trailing wide receiver who comes into the picture because then if it does get batted down, they can almost make the play that Mooney almost made.
And honestly, it was a good throw too because a lot of times you see those Hail Marys like get to like either the very goal line, like the very front of the end zone, and you can't tip it back. Like they have to catch it or go backwards. Like he threw that towards the middle, and it's like the problem with the Hail Marys is that it could very easily be a pass interference too. So if it's a PI, they get the ball on the 1 yard line.
I think they rarely call that though. I feel like
they'll rarely call it, but
I feel like on a Hail Mary, they generally, here's the thing. I feel like unless it was like a situation where it was like wide receiver and corner 1-on-1, and it's like a jump ball and like the guys all, but when it's like a scrum like that, I don't think they really call it because like we've seen that before, and people have made that argument before when it hasn't worked out. Like, well, where's the pass interference? But it's like, guys, like on that play, are you really going to throw it? Like, and I think this is, I mean, we talk about calls that alter games. If you're an official, are you really going to call pass interference on a Hail Mary that then gives them the ball? I mean, it used to be to the goal line, you'd probably go. Now it's like half the distance or whatever. But still, like, that changes the game because then they're setting up and kicking a field goal instead. Like, I don't know. I think it's probably fair they don't do that, but you're right. It's a weird play. It's why it's called the Hail Mary.
Thank God we got it on our side. The clip of the night, clip of the day is if you haven't seen it, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. But Kevin Stefanski's mic'd up on. He was mic'd up on Sunday, so NFL Films is going to be great this week, NFL FX. But his reaction is priceless. If anybody's has not seen it, it was worth the look up.
He said he blacked out when it happened. So
yeah.
All right, well, a longer version than usual, but there was a lot to get to in this game, man, because, you talk about these games being a story, and this one had a lot of twists and turns. You know, moments where you thought the Browns were kind of getting back into it. They throw an interception, the 3 turnovers, Bears score, Browns score, some big plays. So I think it was worth kind of taking the 90 minutes here to cover it all, and we do appreciate those of you who followed along with us. You can obviously find the full length of this video if you didn't watch it live on the Browns Digest YouTube channel. We like to bring you these each and every week, our Brownie breakdowns, and we'll have coverage all week long leading you up to kickoff between the Browns and the Texans Christmas Eve. I'm not going to go detail by detail. It's too much. It's very convoluted, but there are 8 scenarios this weekend that the Browns can clinch a playoff berth. All of them, though, start with the Browns getting a win against the Texans. So if they can take care of business, which I'm sure that'll be the focus in the conversation from the team, they're going to keep using that 1-0 line that they like to use. We'll see if it happens and if this team is one step closer to being a playoff team come this time next week. But in the meantime, as I said, be sure to continue checking out content like this over at the Browns Digest YouTube page and follow along with all things Cleveland Browns over at brownsdigest.com.